Okay, we come to the next sutta, which is number 51. So we have finished 50 suttas, the first 50 discourses. Now we come to the second part, the middle 50 discourses. Majjhima, Panasa, Pali. Sutta number 51, Kandaraka Sutta, to Kandaraka. Thus have I heard, on one occasion the Blessed One was living at Champa on the banks of the Gagara lake with a large sangha of monks. Then Pesa, the elephant driver's son, and Kandaraka, the wanderer, went to the Blessed One. Pesa, after paying homage to the Blessed One, sat down at one side, while Kandaraka exchanged greetings with the Blessed One. And when this courteous and amiable talk was finished, he stood at one side. Standing there, he surveyed the sangha of monks, sitting in complete silence. And then he said to the Blessed One, "It is wonderful, Master Gautama. It is marvelous how the sangha of monks has been led to practice the right way by Master Gautama. Those who were blessed ones, Arahant, Sammasambuddha in the past, at most only led the sangha of monks to practice the right way, as is done by Master Gautama now. And those who will be blessed ones, that means Bhagava, Arahant, Sammasambuddha in the future, at most will only lead the sangha of monks to practice the right way, as is done by Master Gautama now." And the Buddha said, "So it is, Kandaraka, so it is. Those who were blessed ones, Arahant, Sammasambuddha in the past, at most only led the sangha of monks to practice the right way, as is done by me now. And those who will be blessed ones, Arahant, Sammasambuddha in the future, at most will only lead the sangha of monks to practice the right way, as is done by me now. Kandaraka, in this sangha of monks, there are monks who are arahants, with taints destroyed, who have lived the holy life, done what had to be done, laid down the burden, reached the true goal, destroyed the factors of being, and who are completely liberated through final knowledge. In this sangha of monks, there are monks in higher training, of constant virtue, living a life of constant virtue, sagacious, living a life of constant sagacity. They abide with their minds well established in the four intense states of recollection, satipatthana. What for? Here, Kandaraka, a monk abides contemplating the body in the body, ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. He abides contemplating feelings in feelings, ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. He abides contemplating mind in the mind, ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. He abides contemplating Dhamma as in the Dhamma. He contemplating Dhamma in the Dhamma, ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. When this was said, Pesa, the elephant driver's son, said, "It is wonderful, Venerable Sir, it is marvelous how well the four satipatthanas have been made known by the Blessed One for the purification of beings, for the surmounting of sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of pain and grief, for the attainment of the true way, for the realization of Nibbana. From time to time, Venerable Sir, we white-clothed lay people also abide with our minds well established in these four satipatthanas. Here, Venerable Sir, we abide contemplating the body in the body, feelings in feelings, mind in mind, Dhamma in Dhamma, ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. It is wonderful, Venerable Sir, it is marvelous how amid man's tangle, corruption and deceptions, the Blessed One knows the welfare and harm of beings. For humankind is a tangle, but the animal is open enough. Venerable Sir, I can drive an elephant to be tamed, and in the time it takes to make a trip back and forth in Champa, that elephant will show every kind of deception, duplicity, crookedness and fraud he is capable of. But those who are called our slaves, messengers and servants, behave in one way with the body, in another way by speech, while their minds work in still another way. It is wonderful, Venerable Sir, it is marvelous how amidst man's tangled corruption and deceptions, the Blessed One knows the welfare and harm of beings. For humankind is a tangle, but the animal is open enough. Stop here for a moment. So this Pesa is an elephant driver's son, so he trains elephants. So he says, when he is trying to tame this elephant, the elephant will show all kinds of tricks. It's very straightforward. You can see how the elephant thinks in the ways he acts. But human beings are very different. Human beings are very crooked. They can say one thing, that they might feel another. And so says that humankind is a tangle, but the animal is open enough. And the Buddha said, so it is, Pesa, so it is. Humankind is a tangle, but the animal is open enough. Pesa, there are 4 kinds of persons to be found existing in the world. What for? Here a certain person torments himself and pursues the practice of torturing himself. Here a certain kind of person torments others and pursues the practice of torturing others. Here a certain kind of person torments himself and pursues the practice of torturing himself. And he also torments others and pursues the practice of torturing others. Here a certain kind of person does not torment himself or pursue the practice of torturing himself. And he does not torment others or pursue the practice of torturing others. Since he torments neither himself nor others, he is here and now hungerless, extinguished and cool, and he abides experiencing bliss, having himself become holy. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is talking about 4 kinds of persons. One who tortures himself, the second one tortures others, the third one tortures himself and others, the fourth one does not torture himself and does not torture others. Which of these 4 kinds of persons satisfies your mind, Pesa? And he said, the first 3 do not satisfy my mind, Venerable Sir, but the last one satisfies my mind. But Pesa, why don't the first 3 kinds of persons satisfy your mind? Venerable Sir, the kind of person who torments himself and pursues the practice of torturing himself, torments and tortures himself though he desires pleasure and recoils from pain. That is why this kind of person does not satisfy my mind. And the kind of person who torments others and pursues the practice of torturing others, torments and tortures others who desire pleasure and recoil from pain. That is why this kind of person does not satisfy my mind. And the kind of person who torments himself and pursues the practice of torturing himself, and who also torments others and pursues the practice of torturing others, torments and tortures himself and others, both of whom desire pleasure and recoil from pain. That is why this kind of person does not satisfy my mind. But the kind of person who does not torment himself or pursue the practice of torturing himself, and who does not torment others or pursue the practice of torturing others, who, since he torments neither himself nor others, is here and now hungerless, extinguished and cooled, and abides experiencing bliss, having himself become holy. He does not torment and torture either himself or others, both of whom desire pleasure and recoil from pain. That is why this kind of person satisfies my mind. And now, Venerable Sir, we depart. We are busy and have much to do. Now is the time, Pesa, to do as you think fit. Then Pesa, the elephant driver's son, having delighted and rejoiced in the Blessed One's words, rose from his seat, and after paying homage to the Blessed One, keeping him on his right, he departed. Soon after he had left, the Blessed One addressed the monks thus, Monks, Pesa, the elephant driver's son, is wise. He has great wisdom. If he had sat a while longer until I had expounded for him in detail these 4 kinds of persons, he would have greatly benefited. Still, he has already greatly benefited, even as it is. This is the time, Blessed One, this is the time, Sublime One, for the Blessed One to expound in detail these 4 kinds of persons. Having heard it from the Blessed One, the monks will remember it. Then monks, listen and attend closely to what I shall say. Yes, Venerable Sir, the monks replied. The Blessed One said, Monks, what kind of person torments himself and pursues the practice of torturing himself? Here a certain person goes naked, rejecting conventions, licking his hands, not coming when asked, not stopping when asked. He does not accept food brought or food specially made or an invitation to a meal. He receives nothing from a pot, from a bowl, across a threshold, across a stick, across a pestle, from 2 eating together, from a pregnant woman, from a woman giving suck, from a woman lying with a man, from where food is advertised to be distributed, from where a dog is waiting, from where flies are buzzing. He accepts no fish or meat. He drinks no liquor, wine or fermented brew. He keeps to 1 house to 1 morsel. He keeps to 2 houses to 2 morsels. up to 7 houses, 7 morsels. He lives on 1 saucerful a day, on 2 saucerfuls a day, up to 7 saucerfuls a day. He takes food once a day, once every 2 days, once every 3 days, once every 4 days, up to once every fortnight. He dwells pursuing the practice of taking food at stated intervals. He is an eater of greens, or millet, or wild rice, or hide parings, or moss, or rice bran, or rice scum, or sesame flour, or grass, or cow dung. He lives on forest roots and fruits. He feeds on fallen fruits. He clothes himself in hemp mixed cloth, in shrouds, in refuse rags, in tree bark, in antelope hide, in strips of antelope hide, in kusa grass fabric, in bark fabric, in wood shavings fabric, in head hair wool, in animal wool, in owl's wings. He is one who pulls out hair and beard, pursuing the practice of pulling out hair and beard. He is one who stands continuously, rejecting seats. He is one who squats continuously, devoted to maintaining the squatting position. He is one who uses a mattress of spikes. He makes a mattress of spikes his bed. He dwells pursuing the practice of bathing in water 3 times daily, including the evening. Thus, in such a variety of ways, he dwells pursuing the practice of tormenting and mortifying the body. This is called the kind of person who torments himself and pursues the practice of torturing himself. I'll stop here for a moment. So here you can see these external ascetic practices which are unbeneficial, no help to the holy life. What kind of person, monks, torments others and pursues the practice of torturing others? Here a certain person is a butcher of sheep, a butcher of pigs, a fowler, a trapper of wild beasts, a hunter, a fisherman, a thief, an executioner, a prison warden, or one who follows any other such bloody occupation. This is called the kind of person who torments others and pursues the practice of torturing others. What kind of person, monks, torments himself and pursues the practice of torturing himself, and also torments others and pursues the practice of torturing others? Here some person is a head-anointed noble king or a well-to-do Brahmin, having had a new sacrificial temple built to the east of the city, and having shaved off his hair and beard, dressed himself in rough hide, and greased his body with ghee and oil, scratching his back with a deer's horn, he enters the sacrificial temple together with his chief queen and his Brahmin high priest. There he lies down on the bare ground with the grass on it. The king lives on the milk in the first teat of a cow with a calf of the same color, while the chief queen lives on the milk in the second teat, and the Brahmin high priest lives on the milk in the third teat. The milk in the fourth teat they pour into the fire, and the calf lives on what is left. He says thus, let so many bulls be slaughtered for sacrifice, let so many bullocks be slaughtered for sacrifice, let so many heifers be slaughtered for sacrifice, let so many goats be slaughtered for sacrifice, let so many sheep be slaughtered for sacrifice, let so many trees be felled for the sacrificial post, let so much grass be cut for the sacrificial grass. And then his slaves, messengers and servants make preparations, weeping with tearful faces, being spurred on by threats of punishment and by fear. This is called the kind of person who torments himself and pursues the practice of torturing himself, and who torments others and pursues the practice of torturing others. What kind of person, monks, does not torment himself or pursue the practice of torturing himself, and does not torment others or pursue the practice of tormenting others? The one who, since he torments neither himself nor others, is here and now hungerless, extinguished and cooled, and abides experiencing bliss, having himself become holy. Here, monks, a Tathagata appears in the world, Arhan, Sammasambuddha, perfect in true knowledge and conduct, sublime, knower of worlds, incomparable leader of persons to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, enlightened, blessed. He declares this world with its gods, its Maras and its Brahmas, this generation with its recluses and Brahmins, its princes and its people, which he has himself realized by direct knowledge. He teaches the Dhamma, good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end, with the right meaning and phrasing, and he reveals a holy life that is utterly perfect and pure. A householder or householder's son, or one born in some other clan, hears that Dhamma. On hearing the Dhamma, he acquires faith in the Tathagata. Possessing that faith, he considers thus: household life is crowded and dusty. Life gone forth is wide open. It is not easy while living in a home to lead the holy life, utterly perfect and pure as a polished shell. Suppose I shave off my hair and beard, put on the yellow robe, and go forth from the home life into homelessness. On a later occasion, abandoning a small or a large fortune, abandoning a small or large circle of relatives, he shaves off his hair and beard, puts on the yellow robe, and goes forth from the home life into homelessness. Having thus gone forth and possessing the monk's training and way of life, abandoning the killing of living beings, he abstains from killing living beings. With rod and weapon laid aside, gentle and kindly, he abides compassionate to all living beings. Abandoning the taking of what is not given, he abstains from taking what is not given, taking only what is given, expecting only what is given. By not stealing, he abides in purity. Abandoning in celibacy, he observes celibacy, living apart, abstaining from the vulgar practice of sexual intercourse. Abandoning false speech, he abstains from false speech. He speaks truth, adheres to truth, is trustworthy and reliable, one who is no deceiver of the world. Abandoning malicious speech, he abstains from malicious speech. He does not repeat elsewhere what he has heard here in order to divide those people from these. Nor does he repeat to these people what he has heard elsewhere in order to divide these people from those. Thus he is one who reunites those who are divided, a promoter of friendships who enjoys concord, rejoices in concord, delights in concord, a speaker of words that promote concord. Abandoning harsh speech, he abstains from harsh speech. He speaks such words as are gentle, pleasing to the ear and lovable, as go to the heart, are courteous, desired by many and agreeable to many. Abandoning gossip, he abstains from gossip. He speaks at the right time, speaks what is fact, speaks on what is good, speaks on the Dhamma Vinaya. At the right time, he speaks such words as are worth recording, reasonable, moderate, and beneficial. He abstains from injuring seeds and plants. He practices eating only in one part of the day, abstaining from eating at night and outside the proper time. He abstains from dancing, singing, music, and theatrical shows. He abstains from wearing garlands, smartening himself with scent, and embellishing himself with unguents. He abstains from high and large couches. He abstains from accepting gold and silver, money. He abstains from accepting raw grain. He abstains from accepting raw meat. He abstains from accepting women and girls. He abstains from accepting men and women slaves. He abstains from accepting goats and sheep. He abstains from accepting fowl and pigs. He abstains from accepting elephants, cattle, horses and mares. He abstains from accepting fields and land. He abstains from going on errands and running messages. He abstains from buying and selling. He abstains from false weights, false metals, and false measures. He abstains from cheating, deceiving, defrauding, and trickery. He abstains from wounding, murdering, binding, brigandage, plunder, and violence. Stop here for a moment. This is a list of the sila, moral conduct, that a monk is supposed to practice, but this is only the basic. He becomes content with robes to protect his body and with alms food to maintain his stomach. And wherever he goes, he sets out taking only these with him. Just as a bird, wherever it goes, flies with its wings as its only burden. So too, the monk becomes content with robes to protect his body and with alms food to maintain his stomach. And wherever he goes, he sets out taking only these with him. Possessing this aggregate of noble virtue, he experiences within himself a bliss that is blameless. Stop here for a moment. So you see, if a monk practices good moral conduct, then he finds nothing to be remorseful for, and with that his bliss arises. He's very happy, and that is a necessary condition to be able to meditate, to be happy with a clear conscience. On seeing a form with the eye, he does not grasp at its signs and features, since if he left the eye faculty unguarded, evil, unwholesome states of covetousness and grief might invade him. He practices the way of its restraint. He guards the eye faculty. He undertakes the restraint of the eye faculty. Similarly, on hearing a sound with the ear, smelling an odor, tasting a flavor, touching a tangible, cognizing a mind object, he does not grasp at its features and signs, since if he left the faculties unguarded, evil, unwholesome states of covetousness and greed might invade him. He practices the way of the restraint. He guards the faculties. He undertakes the restraint of the faculties. Possessing this noble restraint of the faculties, he experiences within himself a bliss that is unsullied. He becomes one who acts in full awareness when going forward and returning, who acts in full awareness when looking ahead and looking away, who acts in full awareness when flexing and extending his limbs, who acts in full awareness when wearing his robes and carrying his outer robe and bowl, who acts in full awareness when eating, drinking, consuming food and tasting, who acts in full awareness when defecating and urinating, who acts in full awareness when walking, standing, sitting, falling asleep, waking up, talking, and keeping silent. Possessing this aggregate of noble virtue and this noble restraint of the faculties, and possessing this noble mindfulness and full awareness, he resorts to a secluded resting place, the forest, the root of a tree, a mountain, a ravine, a hillside cave, a charnel ground, a jungle thicket, an open space, a heap of straw. I'll stop here for a moment. So you see, in this practice of a monk's life, when he has progressed to a certain extent, he's supposed to go and live alone in a secluded place. On returning from his alms round, after his meal, he sits down, folding his legs crosswise, setting his body erect, and establishing mindfulness before him. Abandoning covetousness for the world, he abides with the mind free from covetousness. He purifies his mind from covetousness. Abandoning ill will and hatred, he abides with the mind free from ill will. Compassionate for the welfare of all living beings, he purifies his mind from ill will and hatred. Abandoning sloth and torpor, he abides free from sloth and torpor, percipient of light, mindful and fully aware. He purifies his mind from sloth and torpor. Abandoning restlessness and remorse, he abides unagitated, with a mind inwardly peaceful. He purifies his mind from restlessness and remorse. Abandoning doubt, he abides having gone beyond doubt, unperplexed about wholesome states. He purifies his mind from doubt. Having thus abandoned these 5 hindrances, imperfections of the mind that weaken wisdom, quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states, he enters upon and abides in the first jhana, which is accompanied by applied and sustained thought, with rapture and pleasure born, with delight and pleasure born of seclusion. Again, with the stilling of applied and sustained thought, he enters upon and abides in the second jhana, which has self-confidence and singleness of mind, etc. And then he enters upon and abides in the third jhana, and then the fourth jhana. When his concentrated mind is thus purified, bright, unblemished, rid of imperfection, malleable, wieldy, steady and attained to imperturbability, he directs it to the knowledge of the recollection of past lives. He recollects his manifold past lives, 1 birth, 2 births, 3 births, 100,000, aeons of world contraction, aeons of world expansion. Thus, with the aspects and particulars, he recollects his manifold past lives. When his concentrated mind is thus purified, bright, unblemished, rid of imperfection, malleable, wieldy, steady, and attained to imperturbability, he directs it to the knowledge of the passing away and reappearance of beings. With the divine eye, which is purified and surpasses the human, he sees beings passing away and reappearing. He understands how beings pass on according to their actions. With his concentrated mind thus purified, etc., he directs it to the knowledge of the destruction of the taints. He understands as it actually is. This is suffering. This is the origin of suffering. This is the cessation of suffering. This is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. He understands as it actually is. These are the taints. He understands as it actually is. These are the origin of the taints, cessation of the taints, and the way leading to the cessation of the taints. When he knows and sees thus, his mind is liberated from the taint of sensual desire, from the taint of being, and from the taint of ignorance. When it is liberated, there comes the knowledge it is liberated. He understands birth is destroyed. The holy life has been lived. What had to be done has been done. There is no more coming to any state of being. This monk is called the kind of person who does not torment himself or pursue the practice of torturing himself, and who does not torment others, or pursue the practice of torturing others. The one who, since he torments neither himself nor others, is here and now hungerless, extinguished and cool, and abides experiencing bliss, having himself become holy. This is what the Blessed One said. The monks were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. It's the end of the sutta. So, here, this later part of the sutta, the Buddha just described in more detail the 4 types of persons. And the last type is the monk, and the Buddha gives some detail of the practice of the monk. It is what we call conduct, charana. I've taken up about 52 minutes.